In this video, I would like to talk about the structure of the human mind. It is a very important topic because it helps us to understand ourselves, to understand our potential, and to aspire to become greater, and also to have the means to develop ourselves. I will link this video in the next releases, in the next videos. I will explain how different practices of yoga, how different aspects of meditation, they develop each and every layer of the mind. And it is extremely useful information. You will see it in your own person, that you practice this and you open a new dimension of reality. So that's why it is important to study the structure of the mind. It is important to understand how the mind is to be developed. And it is also very interesting, and it helps to understand our spiritual movement, how we move and what is happening to us. So, what is human mind? Mind is something abstract. You cannot see, cannot hear, cannot taste, cannot smell. It is an idea, but we feel the existence of the mind. It is something subtler than the physical existence. Nevertheless, it is something real. We can subdivide the mind into the two portions, subjective portion and objective portion. Subjective portion is the one who is seeing. I see the hand. So I is the subject and hand is the object. I see something. So that something is the object. The first subjectivity is I, the feeling of I, the feeling of existence. And second subjectivity is feeling of doership. I am seeing, I am tasting, I am touching, I am smelling, I am thinking, I am memorizing, I am remembering, I am combining. So many actions of the mind. And those are done by the second subjectivity called ego portion of the mind, or aham tattva. The first portion of the mind is called mahat tattva, or the feeling of existence. Second is aham tattva, the doership feeling. And then the third portion of the mind, it's already from here we go into the objective mind, is called chitta. Chitta is like a platform. Subjective portion of the mind interacts with the objective portion of the mind. And then we have a complete something. We have complete experience. For example, I see the hand. Where do I see the hand? Where is the existence of this hand? It exists within my mind. But you can say, no, this hand is, you also see. How you can see in the video my hand, if it is in my mind? No, these are two different hands. I see one hand and you see another hand. What do I see? I see that the particles of light, called photons, are being reflected from my hand, and they touch my retina, they vibrate the nerve fibers, and they create the image in the mind. They vibrate the brain, they create image in the mind. Even if I close the eyes, the hand will be still there. And I have control over that hand. I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, I can make it blue, I can make it pink. Can I do it? Of course I can do. I can close the eyes and in my imagination I can do whatever I want. So everything that we see is actually, we are perceiving it within our mind. Whatever I touch, whatever I smell, whatever I taste, it is a metamorphosed form of our mind. The image has to come first within the mind, and then you can experience that image. So the platform where all those images, all the sounds, all those thoughts and ideas and concepts are existing, it is called chitta, the objective portion of the mind. First is I feeling, second I do, I exist, I do, and here don't I. The I which was metamorphosed into some objective shape. So that is chitta. And then now something interesting comes. This chitta is further subdivided into the 5 layers. The objectivity can be crude, can be subtler, can be more subtler and subtlest. And it depends when my I feeling interacts with the crude objectivity, I am engrossed in the crude experience. And when it is interacting with the subtle objectivity, I am engrossed with the subtle ideas, very, very almost imperceivable concepts. I interact with the bliss, I interact with the flow of joy, I interact with the experience of truth. So those are layers. And ordinarily, people deal with the 2 lowermost layers of the mind. The perceptive layer and intellectual layer. And to some extent, sometimes people interact with the creative layer of the human mind. Okay, let's go one by one. The first layer is called Kama Maya Kosha. Kama means desire, the layer of desire. It is very simple, very primitive layer of the mind. Every creature, even the tree has that layer of the mind. Any spider, any cockroach, they all have that layer. What is the function of that layer? Is to perceive through the sense organs, through smell, through touch, through vision, through hearing, through taste. And then, according to what I perceive, to have attraction or repulsion from the object. This is how we live and how we survive. I smell some nice smell of food and I'm getting attracted to that. I go and I eat that food. And I see something which I don't like. I get repulsed from that and I'm driven away from the object through the dint of my instinct. So instinctual layer of the mind. I smell the pizza. And the image of beautiful pizza with the golden crust appears in my mind. And I want. So with the sense organs I perceive, then with the Kama Maya Kosha, with the layer of desire, I desire, and with my legs and with my hands I go and I fulfill the desire. There is no intellectuality involved in that process. It is a pure agitation and response. I'm reacting to environmental conditions. This is Kama Maya Kosha. It performs the function of connecting layer. It is the crude, almost physical layer. It is a connection between the physical world and my mind. My mind connects to the physical world through this layer using the motor organs. And my mind connects to the physical world through the using the sense organs. I receive the information and I also act upon that information. What is the development of this layer? Actually, especially with the development of civilization, so-called civilization, sometimes we become spoiled. It means that our Kama Maya Kosha is out of tune. It drives us to something which is not beneficial to us. For example, a person likes to drink alcohol. Alcohol is not beneficial. If you give it to the cat will feel like, oh, I'm not going to take that. Because the Kama Maya Kosha is very healthy. But if we bring the Kama Maya Kosha out of tune, we get attraction to something harmful. And we are repulsed from something useful and beneficial. So, by certain practices of yoga, I will explain later, we can change the nature of this layer. So we will feel attraction to something subtle and something elevating and something sentient. And we will feel repulsed to something dark, tamasic. So that's the development. Changing the nature of the desire. For example, sometimes people, they stop trying to stop smoking. But they want so much. They have that attraction. In the mind, it's like when they see the cigarette, their hands are shaking. I want to smoke. So one way is to suppress yourself and just to hold, I'm not going to smoke, I'm not going to smoke, or take some medicine or something like that. And another way is to change the nature of your Kama Maya Kosha. So it doesn't become any more attracted to those kind of objects which are not beneficial to me. Okay, let's go to the next layer. The next layer is called Manomaya Kosha, or subtle mind. It controls the intellect, memory, imagination. It works all the time. Like, for example, now I'm using it, and I find the words, I find the concepts. Not only that layer I'm using also the higher layer, but this one also. In this layer, I learned something in the past. So I have like a library of experiences, of ideas, of the concepts. So I go to that library, I pick up the necessary thing, I take it, and I make use of it. You understand? That's how the memory works. The memory is also something which we need to train. Sometimes the memory fades, and then powerful Manomaya Kosha allows you to take from the memory whatever you like to take. You read the book 10 years ago. You still can recollect. You can still remember. One of my meditation teachers, he did the special practices of yoga for the development of this layer of the mind. And he was just like a Google. I would ask him, Dada, what do you think about this? And then he would run the search in his head. And then he would answer. And I would say, how do you know all that? You are like an encyclopedia. He said, I'm Dada, I must know. So he had extremely developed Manomaya Kosha, extremely developed intellect and extremely developed memory power. This layer works also during the dream, when we sleep and we are dreaming. When you are dreaming, the Kamamaya Kosha, the first layer, is suspended. So whatever you are seeing in the dream, you believe it to be the reality. Your imagination, you believe it to be your reality. And actually there is not much difference for the mind. Something which is imagined or something which is real, coming from the real perception. It is all the same thing for the mind. So one time I saw the hypnotist came to our small town when I was a child. And he demonstrated very interesting things. He hypnotized like 8 people. I was really like maybe 7 years old. I also wanted so much to be hypnotized, but he refused to hypnotize me. I was too small. But it was very interesting to see what was going on with these people. So he put them to sleep. They were like this. And then he asked them, okay, now you're in the forest and there is a lot of strawberries there on the lawn. And then you go enjoy that strawberry. They sat down, they start to crawl through the imaginary grass. They would pick up the strawberries, they would eat. They would, laugh, and they would be so happy on that in that imaginary forest. Then he said, okay, now the rain is coming. Take out your umbrellas. They took out the umbrellas, and you can see on their faces just really they're experiencing the rain. And then he took the hand of one of the person, and then he sterilized one needle, and he pierced the skin of the person. And there was no expression, there was no pain. It was just like completely painless. Because when the Kamamaya Kosha is suspended, then there is no experience of connection between body and mind. Whatever happens to the body, the person doesn't realize, doesn't understand. He exists in the imaginative world with imaginative body. So if something happens to that imaginative body, then he will feel. But not to this body. It's very interesting how the koshas work. So at this level, it is the level of imagination. We exist there in the dream, in this state of hypnosis. Sometimes the magicians in India, they do like this. For example, he throws the rope in the sky, and the rope remains in the sky. And then another person comes and he climbs that rope, And then all the spectators like, what is happening? Because with his powerful developed mind, he brings under control the manomaya kosha of the spectators. So whatever he is imagining, they are seeing it. They are seeing it for real. And for him, actually many things, for them, many things are happening. Somebody climbs the rope, and then there is some drama going on. But for people outside of that circle of influence, they just see the person is sitting in meditation, doing something internally, and the spectators, they go through different emotions and they are just becoming like, you know, like that. This is what is happening. It is the developed mind of the magician controls the manomaya kosha of the spectators. So, and for the spectators, it is the reality. It happens in the objective mind. You remember what I see, the hand. Where do I see it? I see it in the objective mind. So for me, it is the reality. So when I see something in the objective mind and there is no concurrent information, I accept it as truth. So that's manomaya kosha. Development of the manomaya kosha means the development of the faculties of intellect, of memory, controlling the process of thinking. That is the development of manomaya kosha. The next layer, it is called atimanas. Atimanas means above the mind, superconscious mind. There will be 3 layers of the superconscious mind. Conscious mind, subconscious mind, superconscious mind. 3 layers. Carl Jung, he said, collective unconscious. Collective because we all are connected to some causal matrix. We have the same stories, we have the same mythology, with different names, but the same things are going on. So that Atimanas kosha is storehouse of the archetypes. Manomaya kosha is analytic in nature. I take the thing, I analyze. The hand is white, it is 7 centimeters in size, it has certain lines like that. So I'm able to analyze things with the manomaya kosha. But with Atimanas kosha, I am able to synthesize things. The children, their manomaya kosha is not developed, but the superconscious mind is developed because they are born with the developed, more or less developed layers of the superconscious mind. And it is all active. It becomes active earlier than the intellectual layer. So the children, they can relate to the stories. And the story is what? The story is an archetype. An archetype contains so many things. For example, Cinderella. When you listen the word Cinderella, you already have you have the entire story archived into that one image. You know, she is a poor girl, but she is very hardworking, very good-natured, and then finally she became very fortunate. So all those things, it takes explanation, but then finally you have an archetype of the Cinderella there. And the historical personalities, Julius Caesar or the Joan d'Arc is archetypes. There is something in mythology in India, it's called Pitri Loka, or the realm of the ancestors. So that is equivalent to Atimanas kosha. The ancestors, they have died, so they are no more, but they exist in the collective unconscious mind of the human race. So we can access them, we can relate to them, and we can make use of them for the thinking process. So there is a common narrative, there is a common content in the human culture in that layer of the mind. And if you are able to access there, from those archetypes, you're able to synthesize the art, the poetry, the songs, the great songs They are not the most complicated songs, but those songs which really vibrate the archetypical thinking of the human being. When the song really touches that, then activates that the third layer of the mind, then we really perceive it as a great song, or as a great art, or as a great movie, like that. So Atimanas, and the ability of this kosha is creativity. Creativity. You are able to bring many factors and to synthesize them in one idea. What is poetry? Like another day I was reciting the Rainer Maria Rilke. The poetry is a powerful metaphor. And in that metaphor, in a very condensed way, exists a lot of philosophy, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom and understanding. And then later on you can analyze and like unarchive that, unpack that knowledge which is given to you in the seed form. And that is the beauty about art. The picture, the sculpture, the music, it contains so much within. So you can listen it 100 times and still something new, and still to explore something new. So that is the art. And that is the function of the Atimanas kosha. If you have Atimanas kosha developed, you are able to produce innovation. You produce something original, not repeating the old things. In Manomaya kosha, you can figure out how to write the poetry. Okay, this is the structure, this is the rhythm, this is the rhyme. Okay, I will be the poet. And then you create something distasteful. But you can never write the poetry in the Manomaya kosha. But in Atimanas kosha, you can, in a simple words, even if you don't know anything about rhythm or rhyme or anything about poetry, but you are able to condense the idea and bring it forth, so people will be enjoying it. There will be a special charm in your words, and people will be ready to read it for many times and still not getting tired from that. Will not be getting tired from that. So that is Atimanas kosha, the creativity, the innovation, and also if it is developed, you are able to enjoy the aesthetics. Otherwise, for you, it's just like when I was a child, I was thinking about why the painters, they draw some kind of, there is one vessel, and there is some flower, and there is an apple. Why they have to draw this kind of things? I couldn't understand. Why they don't draw something more intellectual? Some battlefield and, soldiers shooting into each other. Something interesting, entertaining for the intellectual mind. But then later, something happened to me actually. In one meditation, I was doing meditation. I attained some degree of concentration, and I came to the kitchen. And in the kitchen, what I saw one of the girls who is attending the yoga center, meditation center. She was helping to cook some food so that we can have a meal after collective meditation. So I came there in a very meditative state. There was a silence in the mind. Then I saw her cutting the potato. I saw another one, and then another one here. And then it was so beautiful, so meaningful. I thought, wow, if I would have a skill of an artist, I would draw this picture, this would become a masterpiece. Nothing special, but there is something special about it. And the artist, he has such a perception that he will see something special where everybody else sees something trivial. Isn't it not amazing? So the poets, the artists, they really like seers. They really like the harbingers. They see the future. They see the culture. They see something more deep, and they manifest it through their art. And those people who with the developed Atimanas kosha, they can enjoy also that. So it contains the archetypes, the common cultural like pillars of our existence, the stories, the images of what constitute our culture, what constitute the humanity, and it creates the ability for creativity. Atimanas kosha. Also, it functions as a glass through which we perceive the world. If the Atimanas kosha is colored by painful experiences, you will see the world through the dark glass. Whatever you see, you will see suffering, you will see injustice, unfairness, and so on. Or if you are colored by the happy experiences, you will see through the pink glass. Whatever you see is, rainbows and unicorns. And actually, it is better not to have any glass, but have very clear perception. When I started to meditate, I was having really dark perception of the world. I would see injustice everywhere, no meaning, stupidity, and darkness, and everywhere. But it was my eyes, it was my mind. It was nothing wrong with the world, it was something wrong with me. Maybe something little bit wrong with the world also, but a lot wrong with me. So when I started to do meditation, within 3 months, my mind got purified. And I was so surprised to see that the world is such a beautiful place, full of things to learn, to explore, to discover, to enjoy. And I became a different person, I became a joyful person. So that's because of the changes in this Atimanas kosha. Also in the Atimanas kosha there are different unconscious modes. Like there is some automation within you. For example, I will not trust women. That's one kind of imprinting, embedded in the deeper layers of the mind. And maybe even consciously you are disagreeing with that statement. No, I'm not a chauvinist. I am a decent person. But in the heart of your hearts you have that. Or you have some attitude towards money, and you can never earn enough money for yourself. The money is running away from you because there is an automation within you, a special attitude which is not on the conscious level, so you cannot understand it. It is in the unconscious level. It is deeply within your mind. So when you work with the deeper layers of the mind, below the subconscious mind, then in changing them, you are changing your entire existence. Everything changes. Everything changes. Not immediately. Some algorithms within you, they can be changed immediately, and some takes years, but they do change. They do change because you are working in the causal realm, the causal mind. The name itself, it is the causal mind. It is the cause. There is a cause, and the cause is hidden. And there is an effect. Effect is on the surface. So I am going to the causal mind, and I am working with the causal mind, changing the cause, changing the effect. The next layer of the mind is called Vijnanamaya kosha. Vijnana means special knowledge. Knowledge that doesn't come from external analysis. I just know. Why do I know? I don't know. I just know. I know that I am pregnant with an idea. That is somewhere in between this Vijnanamaya and Atimanas. I know that I know something, but I don't know what I know. Sometimes when I record the videos, I just know that I know something, but I don't know exactly what do I know. Then I sit and I meditate, then I start to speak, and something comes out. And oh, this is interesting. It comes by the work of all the koshas. But that feeling of being pregnant with idea. The formless knowledge is this, Vijnanamaya Kosha. The formless knowledge. The knowledge which will still, it still needs to take shape. And this layer also, it's yes or no. Discrimination capacity. Is it moral? Yes, it is moral. Is it moral? No, it is not. Inner voice. And then intellectually someone can convince you, no, it is moral. Maybe yes, it is moral. Intellectually you accept. But then in the heart of your heart, you feel, no, it is not moral. Is it going to work? No, it is not going to work. Just recently, people did convince me to do something. It was moral, it was good, but I knew it's not going to work. In my heart of hearts, I knew. But then intellectually, I thought, well, why not? I think there is no reasons. But then, when something happened, I realized that I knew it already 3 months ago. I knew it in my heart that this is going to happen. So this is the function of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The premonition, the knowledge, you are able to say yes or no. And when you listen to your inner voice, to your inner heart, you can never be lost in life. When I wanted to become a sannyasi, the monk and the meditation teacher, it was a big step in my life. But I knew it in my heart of hearts. I had a calling from within. I just knew it. It's like, I remember I was living in a house and I need to heat the stove. So there was this heap of coal, and I was bringing that coal from outside to under the shed. So working with the shovel. And then I got tired and I was leaning on the shovel. And I was thinking, what should I do in life? And then I heard inner voice. You will become a monk. And then my intellect would say, no way. No way, I'm not going to. But already in the heart of hearts, already I knew this is my destiny. So this inner knowledge, the special knowledge, you just know it. You cannot deny it. That is Vijnanamaya Kosha. And is a special guidance. When you follow that guidance, it guides you to happiness. It guides you to the greatness, to the fulfillment of your potential. Even though sometimes it is scary, but it is the guidance of the Supreme Consciousness. You have the mission, you have the destiny. You just need to hear it. So that happens when you develop Vijnanamaya Kosha. And it can be developed through a certain portion of the meditation practice. Vijnanamaya Kosha. Special knowledge. Yes or no. Conscience. And then there is another ability. It's called detachment. I'm not detached. I'm just seeing things. The truth is the most important thing. I have distanced myself from my I want and from my don't want. I neither want, I neither don't want. I am the worshipper of truth. Let the truth manifest. So that kind of detachment, that kind of emotional upliftment, when you are ready to accept the truth, that is also a portion of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And you feel exhilarated, you feel joy at that moment. When you let go of all things and you just feel the joy that you are accepting what has been destined. You accept your destiny. That is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Very interesting. Through Vijnanamaya Kosha, you can see so many things. You can understand so many things. The knowledge comes spontaneously. That's the beauty. And it is very original knowledge. Like my spiritual master. He didn't read the books. He didn't study in the university, but at the age of 30, he already created the most beautiful spiritual philosophy, just out of his inner realization. When you see it within your soul, deeply within your soul. And he would also he would scold the disciple, "Hey, what was that? You took some greenish, blackish substance. What was that?" And the disciple is like, "I think it was tea." "You think? Oh, it was tea." He would catch the disciples. He would just need to concentrate on you and your entire history, your entire what you have done and what you have not done would be revealed before the master. So that is an extremely developed layers of the mind. He would just focus on anything and it would appear in his mind. So that kind of special knowledge is Vijnana Maya Kosha. I think it's very interesting. For me, it is very interesting. I like that. And when even you touch a little, you feel a lot of joy when it comes to you. And then the final layer of the mind is called Hiranmaya Kosha. Some other traditions call it also as Anandamaya Kosha. Ananda means bliss, the blissful layer. And we call it Hiranmaya Kosha. Hirana means gold. When you reach that layer, you experience the golden light. It is the subtle most objectivity. And when your subjectivity deals with that subtle most objectivity, you experience the joy of existence, you experience the golden light. It's like the effulgence. Sometimes you can experience that in meditation. You close your eyes and then you concentrate, and the moment comes, just you see so much, it becomes very bright. And then you open your eyes. Oh, is there some lights on? No, everything is dark. Then you close the eyes, you concentrate, and then again everything becomes brilliantly bright. It means if you see that inner light, if you see that light in your heart, if you see that everything becomes light. Actually, I will tell you one story. I had one acquaintance, he's an artist, and I asked him, why do you create art? You work so much. He said, I don't do it for fame, I don't do it for money. I said, then what? What for? He said, because one night I was drawing and I felt that I found something, some hidden beauty, some hidden idea, and I was searching for it. I was trying to express it, formless knowledge. And then something happened, and I just started to see the light emanating from my picture. Lots of light emanating from my picture. And then I looked around, and the light was emanating from the walls, from the floor, from the ceiling, and the light was overwhelming. Everything was merging in the light. Everything was becoming light. And the light was coming from my body also, from everywhere. And he said, I got scared. I thought, I'm so young, I'm still so young. And everything stopped. He said, I'm still wondering what would happen if I would not become scared. And that's why I'm still searching. I'm searching. I'm searching. So that is the function. When the Hiranmaya Kosha becomes active, all the layers, they become suspended, and you find yourself in the ocean of divine light. That's why it is Hiranmaya Kosha, the golden layer. And also, when you touch that Hiranmaya Kosha, your body starts to emanate golden light. There is an aura about you. The magnetism, the emanation of light. People feel that you are the torchlight. So that is the one subtle most objectivity of our mind. And in the next video, I will explain how to develop all those layers of the mind. So to summarize, the mind consists of two portions: subjective portion, objective portion. Subjective portion, two subjectivities are there: I feeling and doership. Objective portion, 5 layers. The crude mind, the layer of desire, I perceive, I want, I do. Or I perceive, I feel repulsed, I avoid. That's that kind of function. Then Manomaya Kosha, the subtle mind, I think, I remember, I imagine, I dream. There. Then Atimanas Kosha, the archetypes are there. The synthetic knowledge, just say the name, and you know so many qualities concentrated in that name. And then innovation, creativity, synthetic thinking. Then Vijnana Maya Kosha, layer of the special knowledge. You just know. You know, whatever you concentrate upon, the knowledge of that comes to you. Isn't it beautiful? It is beautiful. Whatever you concentrate upon, you can understand any idea, subtle or crude. That knowledge of that comes to you. And then, finally, the Hiranmaya Kosha, the layer of the bliss. There, you are to enjoy the bliss. There, you are to see the divine light. And then, above all those layers of the mind, above the subjectivity, above the objectivity, there is the supreme cognition, which is called Atma, the supreme consciousness. The supreme consciousness is not performing any function, it is just witnessing. It's like a light on a stage. Something is going on the stage, the light is witnessing that going on. And when there is nothing going on the stage, the mind, the soul is witnessing that nothing is going on. So the soul, the consciousness, is a witnessship of being or of not being. So this is the human being, plus the body. The body is called Annamaya Kosha, means the layer which consists of food. We eat the food, it becomes the part of our body. That's why we have to be careful with the food. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I will record another one, specifically how to develop every layer of the existence. If you are interested in that, please write in the comments how do you feel about this. Maybe you have your own observations of the functions of the koshas. It will be very interesting for me to know how you experienced the different koshas. And also, not to miss any further presentations, you can press the bell sign and stay with the meditation steps. We'll see you soon. Namaskar.